For many of us in this industry, longevity means that at some point we'll be asked to take control of a struggling community. This can mean that the community is suffering from low occupancy, that it has a history of criminal activity, or that it's fallen into a state of disrepair. When you're trying to improve the fortunes of a struggling community, first impressions are everything. Most prospects will decide within the first few minutes of visiting your community whether they're going to rent from you or not before they ever step foot into an apartment. So how can you improve the reputation of a community that's been on the downhill slide for a long time? Well, there are a lot of steps that you can take, but there are three main ones that'll help for a quick turnaround in improving the community, which are community upkeep, establishing resident screening guidelines, and improving your online reputation. The first of these, which is community upkeep, means exactly what it sounds like. That's improving your image based on physical improvements to the community itself. In 1982, criminologists James Wilson and George Kelling theorized what they called the broken window theory. And what the broken window theory is the idea that a broken window that's left in a state of disrepair will cause more windows to be broken and further crime to develop. Their reasoning for this is because leaving something like a window broken or graffiti uncleaned gives the image off that the building is uncared for and that the owner and the management are uninvested in the success of their property. This has been proven true in recent years, and the broken window theory has been used by police departments across the country to shape their policies on blight and community upkeep. So, it's something that you can apply to your own building. If you see something that's broken, if you see graffiti, if you've seen something that's neglected, the fact that it's staying in that state of disrepair only serves to create more opportunity for further repairs necessary down the road. Another thing you can do as far as community upkeep is to work on improving the culture of your community itself. Resident retention is a very important aspect of our jobs, but retaining the residents who respect the culture that you're creating is even more important. The culture that you're trying to create should be one of responsibility, where residents are held to the terms of their lease and where the rules of the community are strictly enforced. If you have residents who are continually disrespecting the property and breaking the terms and covenants of their lease, then they should not be a part of your community as you move forward. The next thing that you can do is to establish fair but strictly held screening standards in order to improve the clientele coming into your community. Of course, the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Fair Housing Act provide protections for 7 established classes on a federal level that we can never discriminate against. As a reminder, those classes include race, color, religion, national origin, sex, disability, and familial status. However, there are some classes that are not federally protected, which we can use to establish screening criteria for who we allow to move into our community. 2 of the main ones which will help to improve your community going forward are criminal history and credit history. It is not illegal for you to deny an applicant based on criminal history as long as your policy for criminal history is clearly outlined within your tenant selection plan. Your tenant selection plan should be well established and should be available for anybody who asks, whether it's a prospect, an inspector, or an employee. It should clearly outline your criteria as far as criminal history for your background checks, as well as have an appeals process in place for those who feel that they were wrongfully denied. You have to remember that every situation is unique, so just because an applicant does not meet your screening criteria does not mean that they should not be a part of your community. It just means that you have to take a closer look as to whether they're going to respect the policies and culture that you're putting in place. The next one is credit history. Credit history, likewise, is not protected by the federal government, and it should be one of the biggest screening criteria that you factor into admitting new people into your community. Things to consider when looking at an applicant's credit history should include their credit score, their history of evictions, if they have any outstanding money owed to a previous landlord or a utility company, and their debt-to-income ratio. The biggest reason that you're going to want to consider credit history when you're taking new applications is because you do not want to move new applicants in who are not going to be paying their rent and ultimately cause you to have a higher debt collection and to cause you further legal problems. A history of evictions should tell you if someone is a habitual non-payer of their rent, and their overall credit score should give you an idea about their history as payments in general. I wouldn't say that this could necessarily disinclude them, but it should help you factor into deciding things like security deposits and whether or not you're going to allow them to remain in subsequent years after their initial lease. The next important thing that you can do to improve the fortunes of your struggling community is take a hard look at your online reputation. In today's day and age, your online reputation is critical. And in fact, according to Apartments SEO, 87% of renters say that reviews and ratings play a significant factor in their decision as to where to rent. The first thing that you can do in order to improve your online reputation is to ensure that you are staying current. You should regularly search for your property on Google and make sure that all the information out there about you is correct and accurate. Things to be aware of are the prices that are listed, your availability, your business hours. Make sure that you have current pictures up, and make sure that you have your most current contact information. Residents cannot move into your property if they cannot contact you, and you would be surprised how often an old phone number or email address is listed on one of the sites that you may not always pay attention to. Another thing you can do for improving your online reputation is to always respond to negative comments. More and more people are relying on the reviews and ratings of others in order to influence their decisions, and negative reviews can be a huge detriment to your success. You should take it as an opportunity to show your customer service skills and turn negativity into positivity by responding to all the negative reviews that you find online about your community. You should never argue with someone who leaves you a negative review, but instead apologize and invite them to contact your office directly so that you can address whatever their complaints are. This will make it appear that you care about your community and that you welcome feedback from your customers. These are things that people will pay attention to when they're searching for your community online and may help them in making their decision to move to your property. Another thing that you can do in order to improve your online presence is to encourage people to leave positive feedback. People are always much more likely to go online to leave negative feedback after they have a negative experience. But you should invite your residents, prospects, vendors, anybody who has a positive experience with you or your employees to leave a comment for you online. As we already stated, people use these comments to make decisions about whether or not they should move to your community. So if you encourage people to leave positivity as opposed to the negativity that's going to come on its own, it'll go a long way towards improving your online presence. These are just a few of the steps that you can take in order to try to change the fortunes of a struggling community. Once again, it's important to keep up the community and improve any of the outstanding work that's needed in order to give the appearance that the community is being cared for. It's also important for you to establish fair but strictly held resident screening criteria, which is outlined clearly in your tenant selection plan. And finally, you should pay attention to your online reputation as more and more people are turning to the internet for reviews on communities and making decisions on where they want to live based on the thoughts of others. If you do these three things, you'll be on your way towards improving the fortunes of a struggling community. Thank you.